If fun is what you're after, I want to read a book. If fun is what you're after, pick a book, take a look. Pick a book and take a look. Understand what you read. Understand what you read. Connect your life, what you read. Connect your life, what you read. Let's get hooked with book and read in every nook. Share the stories that you read. I feel it in my heart, beat by beat. I feel it in my mind, I'm ready to read. I read, I read, I 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 read. Looking for a laughter. If fun is what you're after. Grazing for adventure. If there's a question in your mind, pick a book, take a look. Pick a book and take a look. Understand what you read. Understand what you read. Connect your life, what you read. Connect your life, what you read. Let's get hooked with book and read in every nook. Share the stories that you read. I feel it in my heart, beat by beat. I feel it in my mind, I'm ready to read. I read, I read, I 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 read.
Once upon a time, there lived a poor old man called Helehele. He liked his life and was not unhappy. One day, while he was digging a field where the soil was hard, he uncovered a large, round piece of turquoise. Helehele placed the treasure in a cane basket and set off for home. On the way, he met a man leading a horse with a rope. The man asked him, "Where are you going, Helehele?" The old man replied, "Mimi's fortune is burning today. As I was digging in a meadow, I found a turquoise." Before the horseman saw the jewel, the old man made a proposal. "Will you exchange your horse for this precious stone?" The horseman thought, "Who in the world would barter a turquoise for a horse?" Helehele put down his basket and revealed the jewel of great fortune. The horseman was speechless. He was happy for the poor old man. Helehele made a proposal. "Will you not exchange your horse for this turquoise?" The horseman replied, "Don't joke, Helehele. Your turquoise is priceless. My horse is worthless." The old man spoke earnestly. "Priceless or worthless, are you for the trade? Take this stone and hand over the horse rope to me." The horseman lost no time in giving the rope to Helehele and then went his way with the precious turquoise. He considered himself the happiest and luckiest man in the world. Helehele went his way as well, feeling even happier than the horseman. Then Meme met a man with an ox. He exchanged the horse for the ox. Then he bartered the ox for a sheep and swapped the sheep for a goat. In each exchange, the people he traded with thought Meme Helehele was a fool. Then he traded the goat for a rooster. With each barter, Meme Helehele grew more and more joyful. As he neared his home, carrying the rooster under his arm, the old man heard someone singing in the distance. The closer he walked to the singer, and the louder the song became, and more joyous he felt. As he listened, tears of happiness swelled in Meme Helehele's eyes. He thought, I am content hearing this song. How much happier I would be if I knew how to sing it myself. Suddenly, he found himself face to face with the singer. Where are you going? The singer asked. The old man smiled. I'm going home. Today, Meme's fortune is burning. As I was digging in a meadow, I found a precious turquoise. I exchanged it for a horse, the horse for an ox, the ox for a sheep, the sheep for a goat, and the goat for this rooster. Now please take this rooster and teach me how to sing. The singer could not believe his ears. He thought it was unlikely that this foolish man had found a precious turquoise. Only the richest, most powerful, meritorious, and lucky persons ever found such a jewel. Then he thought, supposing this man was lucky. Even the most foolish person would not exchange a precious turquoise. One mistake would be enough to sharpen the mind of the most stupid person. The singer also knew that Meme Helehele had the worst voice in his village. A foolish trader and a bad voice, he thought. Finally, after much discussion, the singer became convinced that the old man was serious. So he taught Meme Helehele the song. When the old man departed from the rooster and the man who had taught him the song, he walked home singing. Meme Helehele felt like the most successful trader in the village, the richest man in Bhutan, and most importantly, the happiest person in the world. The story of Meme Helehele teaches us materialistic things cannot buy true happiness and inner peace. It is in small things.
My name is Sharyang Jindoji. I am 12 years old. I study in class 8 in Changangkha Middle Secondary School. My favorite book is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. This book is about Harry Potter who thinks he is ordinary boy until he is rescued by a half man and half giant who he enrolls him in Hogwarts School Witchcraft and Wizardry. He plays Quidditch and duels, and in the end he fights Lord Voldemort, who is evil, and his best friend is Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. Yes, there was a big lesson I took from this book, and it was to never give up easily. The title I would give is Harry's Adventurous Life. I would like to meet Hermione Granger because she is witty. I wish that Harry didn't have to go back to his aunt and uncle because they are mean. I like the book because the book has more detail than the movie. I would ask the author to make one more book about Harry Potter.
Good example, my name is Sona Vincent. I am 8 years old. I study in Jungshina Primary School. Today, I am going to read the story about King Trustbeard. Once upon a time, a king had a beautiful daughter. She was so proud of her beauty that she refused many princes and kings to marry with. She would make fun of them, saying, "Someone too fat, someone too short," etc. Once a king proposed her, but she refused to marry him, saying, "You have your chin like a thrush beak." So he got his name King Trustbeard. This behavior of a princess was not liked even by the king. Her father, he decided to marry her to a beggar. One day there came a beggar. The princess was married to the beggar, who took her to his country. The beggar brought the princess to his hut. In the hut there was nothing she had in the palace. She was weeping to hear the beggar say, "You have to clean the hut, cook the food, wash the clothes, and also to earn." One day the beggar came home and said, "I have been to the king, who has promised to give you a job as a kitchen maid." Now the king's daughter had to be at beck and call of the cook. Every day she would take home the remaining food in the kitchen. One day some ceremony was going on in the palace. There were many royal guests present there. The beggar's wife stood in a corner behind a curtain, saw the guests enjoying delicious foods. Suddenly there came a prince in royal dress. He held her by her hand and began to dance with her. She was surprised to see him because he was none other than King Trustbeard. She now remembered how she had insulted him by refusing to marry with him. Then the King Trustbeard said, "I had disguised myself as a beggar and married you. Then you are made a kitchen maid. I did all this to make you be humble and good to others. Thank you."
My name is Regine Gill. I am from Australia and I came to Bhutan at the beginning of last year. So I have been teaching at ELC for the last 2 years, and I teach classes 4, 5, 6 and 7 English, and I also teach a bit of Shakespeare to classes 11 and 12. I mainly do 3 things. The first thing I do is to give them autonomy and control over the books that they want to read. So at ELC, in the lower grades, we have a shelf full of books so that when they want to borrow a book and they want to take it home to read, they can choose their own books, and so that they can choose books that interest them and engage them. And so I give them a choice in what they want to read. And also out here, outside a classroom, we have what's called an open library. And so kids, when they want to read in the snack time or at lunchtime, they can come and just take a book and read. And so autonomy allows them to choose what they want. The second thing I do is that I try to create a habit with motivation. And so I ask them to read at least 10 to 15 minutes every day, and when they finish reading, what they do is they have to write it in a reading record. And so this is one person's reading record. They write the date and they write what they have read and how many pages it has. And so at the end of every week, I check and mark how many books they have read, and for every book they read, I give them a reading star. And as a class, every week when I have counted how many reading stars the class have got, then I tally it up, and when they reach 100 reading stars, I give them a little celebration so that they're excited about what they have read and they can continue to be motivated to read every night. And they feel very proud of their achievements when they reach 100 stars. And the third thing that I do is that I want to model a sense of enjoyment with reading, and so every week I read a book to them. So for the higher grades, I read a chapter of a book, and for the younger grades, I read one small book, one short book. And so that helps them to realize how reading can be fun and enjoyable, and we can have an enjoyable time together. So those three things. I will focus mainly on the emotional benefits of reading. So studies have shown that reading actually decreases stress levels by 68%. And so if you read every day, your stress levels will come down. And also if you read before bed, you will get a better night's sleep. And so number one is that it reduces stress. The second thing is that they have done studies where people have read books to depressed patients. And after being read to, they feel a sense of positivity and a sense of well-being in themselves. And so reading reduces depression, anxiety, and stress, and increases positivity, and it increases well-being. So at ELC, we focus a lot about the well-being of each student. And so reading is one of those ways that we can increase and help a student to have a better mental health and better wellness and better well-being. The last thing I want to say is that as children read different characters in different cultures about different worlds, what they do is they can imagine and understand different personalities. And so it makes them more emotionally mature when they come to the real world, and they can understand different people better and understand how to navigate different problems. And so reading helps to make emotionally healthier children as well as more emotionally intelligent children. Since I teach young children, I will recommend some books for younger children. So this book is a few stories about the adventures of Curious George. Curious George is a little monkey, and sometimes he's very curious. And so he does things that are a little bit naughty sometimes. And so I think that young children will be able to identify and connect with the main character in here, and also learn how to solve problems. So when they have gotten themselves in trouble, what they should do. And so I find that this is a very interesting book for young readers. Okay, and then the second one is probably for upper primary. This book is called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. And this one has 5 different children in it, and it talks about what the 5 different children are like. And I think children will be able to identify with these 5 children. Either they are like them themselves, or they have seen children like them. And it also teaches what is good and what is bad for children to do. So I think this is a very good book. And the third book I have is a book that is published by Design for Change. And so this is not a fiction book, but it's a book about what things have actually happened and how children have actually changed their world for the better. So actually ELC has one of the stories in here also about how they have stopped using packaged food for 6 days a week, and only we allow 1 day a week where we can eat packaged food. And so that changes the world and how it can help the world to have less landfill, less rubbish, and also children can eat healthier things. And so this is a really good book for children to learn how they can impact the world and inspire the world to be a better place. I do have a couple of tips. So the first tip I have is to set limits on how much you watch TV and how long you spend on social media on your phone. Because actually research has actually shown that spending too much time on your phone can increase anxiety. So I want to talk about this because a lot of children are now finding themselves anxious or depressed and having trouble with their mental health. And I think having too much time on social media has affected that. So if you can just turn your social media off or set time limits. Let's say I will just do 30 minutes today. And then instead of being on social media or watching TV, then you can take up a book and you can immerse yourself in the good feelings of reading a book. So that will be better. And the second thing I have is to try to use the library. So there are two main libraries here in Thimphu, one on Northern Lam and one in the Royal Bhutan University. And you can borrow 2 books at a time. And so if you can go to the library and you can choose the books that you like to read, it will help you gain more enjoyment of reading. And also you will find that the more you read, the better you will be. And so try to go to the library and borrow books. It will be of no cost to you, except I think there is a membership fee, right? A small amount of membership fee. And with that, you can borrow books for 2 weeks at a time. And so borrow 2 books, read them, bring them back, and then borrow some more. So the more you read, the better you will feel, and the more competent you will feel at reading also. For some of these parents who may not be able to read books to their children, there are audio books that you can download on the website. Or now actually, because of the pandemic last year, there are a lot of teachers who have read books on YouTube. So you can find on YouTube different books that are being read aloud by teachers, and they can, instead of watching a program, they can listen to a book read out on YouTube. So this writer E.B. White likes to write fantastic novels about Stuart Little, Charlotte's Web, and The Trumpet of the Swan. I really enjoy Charlotte's Web because it talks about a little spider and its journey with a pig. And so I think this book allows children to develop compassion and empathy for not just other people, but for animals as well. So I really enjoy this book. There are so many good books. I would say that Enid Blyton is a really good author to read. So I have been to a few different bookshops around Thimphu, and I have seen many bookshops carry books by Enid Blyton. So young children around primary school age will enjoy any of the books by Enid Blyton. So she has written series on the Secret 7 or the Famous 5 or different mysteries. So this would be a good one. Okay, so The Kite Runner is also a really good book for probably high school aged kids because it talks about a 12-year-old who lives in Afghanistan and the trouble that he has had in Afghanistan, and it goes through his life and the decisions that he makes about what to do when there are troubles in life or crises in life. So this is a really good book for the older high school kids. This is also probably for higher high school age kids, and this is the complete novels and stories about Sherlock Holmes. So Sherlock Holmes was a detective, and he has an amazing mind and ability to observe things that normal people don't. So if you like mystery and a little bit of not sure or detective novels, then Sherlock Holmes is a very good one. I really enjoyed this when I was in high school, and it also helps us to learn to see things or observe different people and different situations in a closer way so that we can see what happens in the real world and to understand what people are like and what people do.
I'm Prithvi, I'm 13 years old and studying Dr. Tapkil, and I'm a writer. It was the summer of 2018 and the World Cup was going on. I was interested on knowing how FIFA worked. So I did a little research and wrote down what I had learned. This was the first time I had written something lengthy. That's when I realized that I loved writing. It was the same year that Sir Stephen Hawking had passed away. I read his book, The Grand Design, and fell in love with astronomy. I had learned so much that I wanted to share my knowledge with the rest of the world, so I wrote this book, an anthology of the cosmic world. Well, I guess it comes from my interest in astronomy. I mean, unlike most children these days, I don't think of reading or writing as a chore. I just like exploring the universe. First of all, I would say that do a lot of research before writing anything. That is very important. The first step in writing is to know what you're writing about. Second thing is, do focus more on the subject that you are interested in writing about. If you are more focused on it, it will be easier to write about it. Well, my favorite book would be Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. It is the life of a young boy named Percy Jackson, and he goes to retrieve the masterport of Zeus. It is very thrilling, and each page makes me want to read the next. I think it's very interesting. Well, I don't really read much like people may think. I read whenever I get free time, mostly in school. Well, the recent book I read is Alchemist Fowl by Elon Colfer. I liked this book because the protagonist of the story, Alchemist Fowl, is very determined on what he wants to achieve, no matter how many people get hurt. This typically isn't the attitude of the protagonist, but I still like him as he's very confident about what he's doing. Almost every civilization across human history had some form of reading or writing. The ancient Egyptians or Babylonians used hieroglyphics as a means of communication. These days, reading has become even more important as it increases our vocabulary, betters our grammar and sentence structuring skills, etc. But above all, by reading, we gain knowledge. A person who can read can educate themselves on literally any wisdom man has ever possessed. Well, first book is, as I talked about earlier, the Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. This book is also very thrilling and easy to understand, especially by the younger audience. Next book is The Grand Design by Sir Stephen Hawking. This book is also very interesting as it explains everything from the Big Bang to black holes. Next would be Alchemist Fowl by Elon Colfer. I talked about this earlier as well. This book is also very interesting as there are many mythical creatures like fairies, elves, trolls, etc. Well, it's mostly from the school library or online. I don't really read printed copies much. I mostly read online PDFs. So tips I would have for young readers is, one, or focus on what you want to read about. There are many different topics, many different subjects. I personally like astronomy, so I read books like The Grand Design, A Brief History of Time, etc. So focus on what you want to read. Second is, don't think of reading as a chore. Don't think of reading as a homework. Like these days in school, teachers give us a story and ask us to write a book review. So we often think of that as a homework, as a chore. So think of reading as entertainment. If you think of it as an entertainment, it would really help you develop an interest. My book, An Anthology of the Cosmic World, is also very interesting, according to me, because I've written everything from the Big Bang to black holes. There's everything from stars, the solar system as well. I'd like to read the 5th chapter, Quantum Mechanics. So quantum mechanics is a branch of physics which explains the behavior of subatomic particles at the nanoscopic level. Atoms are made of elementary particles, which are not visible. When we touch a particle with high energy electromagnetic wave, with a lot of energy, it alters it. By looking at a particle, we technically change it. So we can't precisely measure an elementary particle. This fact is so important that it has a name, the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, the basis of all quantum mechanics. The standard model of elementary particles describes how elementary particles and focuses on behavior, how they behave in the universe. How gravity works in the quantum world is not yet understood. This is the matter particle. There are matter particles of fermions which are divided into quarks and leptons. There are 6 quarks, up, down, charm, strange, and top and bottom. There are 6 leptons, electron, muon, tau, electron, neutrino, muon, neutrino, and tau neutrino. There are also force carrier particles of gauge bosons, gluons, photons, and the WNZ bosons. Now next is, in the 19th century, Ion Schrödinger described a thought experiment in which a cat was placed in a box. This cat, and in the box there was a radioactive sample which had a 50% chance of decaying and killing the cat. While the book was covered, we had no idea whether the cat was alive or dead. The only way to know was to open the box. Only when we open the box, we will know whether the cat made it or not. So until we observe the cat, we can truly know when it is. Thus, the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. There are many theories of quantum mechanics. One of them is quantum entanglement of 2 particles spinning in the opposite direction and possibly separated millions of miles apart. Scientists can use this, so these particles can, when one particle changes, the other one also changes exactly how it is. So scientists could use this principle in teleportation. But teleporting humans is extremely difficult since we would have to copy millions and millions of particles. So if you're interested in knowing how the universe began, how it works, and why we're here, I've explained everything in my 6th chapter in this book. I've also dedicated 1 chapter to the scientists, to the astronomers who have made it possible, to what they did and how they contributed to the vast knowledge of mankind.